Welcome back to the Forza Horizon 5 preview, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys a walkthrough of the Autoshow. Now, this is not necessarily the exact full list of all the vehicles in the game, because obviously you cannot purchase certain vehicles in the Autoshow, like, say, for example, some secret cars and some mission-specific cars, like, for example, the flatbed that you can drive at a certain point in the game. But the reason I wanted to do this video and walk you guys through the Autoshow itself is so you guys can get a clear picture of everything that you can buy in the Autoshow, as well as all of the prices and the stats for everything available in the Autoshow itself. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, another important thing to keep in mind about this car list is that it is not necessarily fully confirmed to be the day one car list just yet. So do keep that in mind, that once again, this is a preview build and is subject to change in certain areas. But as of right now, enjoy the rest of the Forza Horizon 5 Auto Show. Now, as we scroll through the Auto Show, I'm going to actually use this as an opportunity to respond to some comments and questions that I have gotten in regards to Forza Horizon 5. Now, I'm going to be drawing these comments from multiple different videos, and I'm going to actually be reading them out and then answering them as I go along. And I'm also going to try to focus on comments that I've noticed have had questions that have been getting asked kind of multiple times over and over. First of all, we're going to touch on the sounds of the Ford F450. Now, if you haven't watched my Ford F450 build video, make sure you check that out over on the channel, because we actually go through what it sounds like with a stock exhaust, a sport exhaust, a race exhaust, and the different sounds that can be generated from the engine using different cams. Now, I want to touch on cams for a second, because there were a lot of people talking about the way the F450 sounded. A lot of people were saying, well, I don't know about that sound. I don't know if it sounds like a real F450. I don't know if it sounds like a real 6.7 Power Stroke. And that particular sound in that video was mostly what you guys were hearing was the fully built 6.7 Power Stroke with the race cams. Now, what happens when you put the race cams in it is that it revs a lot higher. And when something like that, especially a diesel engine, revs a lot higher, it starts to kind of go into a more smooth engine tone rather than having that sort of lumpy, low RPM tone that a lot of diesel engines are known for. Now, if you drive the F450 with the stock cams and a stock or sport exhaust, or even a race exhaust, but you keep the stock cams in it, and it keeps the RPMs lower, it will sound a lot more like a traditional diesel engine or a real-world 6.7 Power Stroke would. Now, the next question that I wanted to answer is how a lot of you guys have been asking me how I've been playing the game early, which is a completely fair question. 100% a completely understandable, completely fair question. And basically what it was a preview event that I was invited to take part in over the course of the previous week that allowed me to play through a preview build of Forza Horizon 5. Now, this next question comes from a commenter named Calvin, and he asked if you were able to take off the dually wheels that were in the back of the F450. Now, you can't necessarily take them off, per se, but some of the wheel and tire options essentially convert the dualies into a super single. Now, this next comment comes from Blake, and he said he's really excited to see that we are getting a full-on desert environment again in Forza Horizon 5. Now, I love the fact that we're getting deserts, but I think the coolest part about those deserts is the elements that are within them, right? Like, for example, all of the rocks, the hills, the mountains, and, you know, the biggest mountain in the game, of course, the volcano. And I think all of those different elements tie together to allow you to not only have just the desert, but all of these other different biomes within the world that really allow the game to be one of the most diverse environments ever created in a Forza Horizon game. Now, one of the vehicles I really wanted to talk about was this guy right here, the Toyota Tacoma performance truck from DeBerti. Now, this thing is absolutely wild, and it's one of those DeBerti trucks that we have not seen before. However, it's one of those builds that he's had for a while. It just hasn't really been in a game. And the fact that we have it here is absolutely, it's absolutely nuts seeing it here in the game. Absolutely wild. and I'm sure that a lot of you guys are going to be really happy to see that the Charger and Challenger Hellcat are both back here in Forza Horizon 5 as well. And what's also really, really cool is before we dive into Ferrari, we're going to see that the Exomotive Exocet Off-Road is also reappearing here in Horizon 5. Now, I don't know if you guys were big fans of the Exomotive Exocet Off-Road before, but basically what it is, if you're unfamiliar with Exomotive, the Exocet Off-Road is essentially a Miata chassis with long travel suspension and a ton of power. And at the end of the day, I feel like that right there, if that's not the recipe for an incredibly good time, I don't know what is. Also, the prices on some of these cars, like, for example, the 250 Testarossa and the 250 California, holy smokes, that is expensive. That's like 18.5 million credits. That is wildly expensive. Now, scrolling through Ford, obviously you've got the Bronco, you've got the GT500, you've also got the Welcome Pack Bronco race truck, which is absolutely wild. Then, of course, you have the RTR Mustang drift car and the F450 dually, one of the rigs that we talked about actually earlier in this video that I am personally a huge fan of, and I am really glad that it's here in the game. I'm so incredibly glad it's here in the game. Now, we also have the Brocky, which is an Ultra 4 Bronco, and the fact that we have an Ultra 4 rig here in the game at all is incredible, and the fact that it's the Brocky is even more incredible on top of that. Now, someone named Beam Racer actually commented on my video where we drove up to the top of the volcano in the Bronco and said, can you imagine the level of hill climb races we are going to be able to have in this game? And that was something I hadn't really thought about all that much until I read his comment, and I was like, holy crap, we could get a bunch of fully built off-road rigs together and race straight up the side of the volcano. That would be so incredibly, like, it seems like a wild over-the-top idea, because it is, but I think it's one of those wild over-the-top ideas that would genuinely be a blast to take part in and genuinely a blast to just even attempt, because you gotta imagine that some people would make it all the way up the volcano, some people would make it halfway, some people would make it a quarter of the way, and then hit a rock and then flip over and then go tumbling back down the mountain and would have to start again. Probably me. I would have to do that. Yep. Remembering that that was a thing back in previous Horizon games as well. But we'll gloss over that point for right now. And of course, I also could not be happier to see the Formula Drift cars back in the game. And I know I kind of skimmed over GMC right there, but there was the GMC Vandura, of course. But as we all know, there is also the GMC Jimmy. And the GMC Jimmy is not in the auto show at the moment. But once again, I'm still really excited to be able to get my hands on the GMC Jimmy in the future. And you can bet that we are going to be doing a full-on off-road build of that truck and putting it through its paces in multiple off-road environments. And I'll honestly probably have one that's designed to be kind of a trail rider slash rock crawler, and I'll have another one that's designed more around the idea of being kind of a trophy-style race truck. Next up, towards the end of Hoonigan, we have the Twin Mill in the Hot Wheels section right there. And once again, I know there's been a lot of talk about the Hot Wheels Monster Truck, and the Hot Wheels Monster Truck, I believe, is going to be used for a different purpose in the game. I do not believe that it's a vehicle that you can own. But even then, I'm sure it's still going to be an extremely enjoyable and extremely fun vehicle to drive regardless. Now, Jeep is kind of an interesting wild card for me in this game because obviously we have the Gladiator, and the Gladiator is a really interesting addition to all of the other Jeeps that we have because even if you don't necessarily like, let's say you start out with the Bronco, but you're more of a Jeep fan than you are a Bronco fan, I feel like there are some people that are going to play Horizon 5 that are going to just have a garage full of Jeeps. And if you're one of those guys, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you guys down there which one of these vehicles or maybe which one of the brands or especially something that's new that you are extremely excited to get your hands on for the first time. I know there are going to be some Land Rover people that are really excited to have those in their garage as well. And of course, my God, I'm going to have a screaming LFA in my garage as well. Dude, I'm going to be doing so many highway runs in a screaming LFA. Also, the Lotus Evija, that thing is absolutely ridiculous. That thing is nuts in every possible way. And ripping in that thing, see, in my mind, I'm like, sure, you could make it a highway ripper, but I feel like it's almost best suited to being a race car. Also, going through Mazda, I mean, as we all know, also the happiest car brand in the world. I mean, they've got all of the Miatas, and they're all genuinely happy to go racing at any moment in time. And as we scroll through the McLarens, let's not forget the McLaren GT, which is a all-new car in addition to a very well-put-together list of McLarens, and then also the Mercedes-AMG 1, which you will be able to experience right off the start of the game, which, by the way, let me tell you guys, that thing is a joy to drive. It is an absolute treat to drive. It's got massive amounts of front grip. I think if I had the ability to go in and, like, mess with the tuning a little bit, I would probably make it actually a little bit looser because I find that it runs into a lot of like high-speed understeer. But then again, that could also be me having like kind of driven it the wrong way. Maybe there's a specific kind of way you need to drive that car to avoid the high-speed understeer rather than, you know, driving it the way that I drive some of my other cars. But Evos, of course, are going to be a mainstay of the rally category in this game. You got the Morgan three-wheeler, you got the Morris Minor, you got the Mosler MT900S. That thing's going to be a ripper, we already know. We got the R35 GTR in multiple different variants. We've also got the Nissan pickup number 23 Rally Raid. That thing is wild. Haven't seen that before. We've got the R34, which I know for a fact is going to end up in a lot of different car collections and a lot of garages. And another one that really gets me excited is, of course, the S chassis and the Pulsar GTI-R. I feel like you could build a wild Gymkhana build with that thing. You could do a crazy Gymkhana car or even like a crazy rally car. It's all completely up to you on what you do with that thing. Now, I guarantee you there will be a Zonda Cinque Roadster in my garage. Mark my words on that one. We got a couple of Peugeots. We've got the Rally, and we've also got a full-on, like, professional rally car. We also have the Polaris RZR 1000. That thing is going to be a ripper. It's going to be an absolute blast, and I am probably going to end up attempting to put it in the bed of the F450. I doubt it's going to work, but we're going to have a blast trying to make it happen. Now, Porsche, you've got a tremendously long car list here with Porsche. You've got, it almost seems like it goes on forever when you actually scroll through them, and you really are, if you're a Porsche fan, you have near unlimited amounts of choice with nearly every generation of Porsche 911 and a bunch of special Porsches in the supercar and hypercar category, and even some Porsches from the race car category, like, for example, the 917 LM, which is a incredibly fast historic race car. Moving on to Ram, you've, of course, got the 2500 Power Wagon, which is going to be a dream to go off-road in. You've got the Reliant Robin, which is going to be hilarious in every possible way. The Renault 5 Turbo actually kind of holds a special place in my heart because that thing rips. It is hilarious to drive. And you've also got multiple Shelby Cobra 427s and the Daytona Coupe. You got the Sierra RX-3, which is going to be hilarious to bomb around the desert in. You've got your list of Subarus, which, I mean, hey, if there's ever any chance of Subaru season, yeah, it's probably going to be about to be upon us, at least as of when this video is going live. You got your Mark IV Supra, you got your Mark III Supra, and of course, your Mark V, which we have done a build of out here on the channel. Again, also with your AE86 and your Toyota FJ40, and also, you have the ever sought-after 2000 GT, you got the TVR Griffith, the TVR Sagaris, the TVR Cerberus Speed 12, you also have the Ultima Coupe 1020, which is, again, another wild card of a car that is extremely capable and extremely fast, and I'm sure that a lot of people that are wanting to go right to the top of the leaderboards are going to be spending a lot of time in that car. Now, you also have some wild Volkswagens, especially Volkswagen Beetles, some of which are not shown in the auto show, including the Horizon Edition and a couple of other hidden cars in there, but the Type 2 Deluxe also continues to make its return, along with your selection of Volvos, your Vool, and your Willys Jeep. And we're finishing off the auto show with the Zenvo TSRS. That's going to do it for this one, guys, and I hope you all enjoyed it.